Hello and welcome to another episode of Wednesdays with WV. In this episode, which is number 44, I'm having a guest who has been a part of the Indian team and who's also been employed with the Air Force. So you can very well imagine the kind of intelligence that she has and the intelligence that she employs in her cricket as well. It's none other than Shikha Pandey, who obviously has been meted out with some indifferent treatment by the selectors. But however, she's always one who's taken it on the chin and moved along. It's my great pleasure to introduce Shikha Pandey to you. Of course, everybody is aware of what she is, and as usual, I'm hoping to have a very enterprising and entertaining conversation with her. Welcome, Shikha. How are you?
Thanks a lot, sir. Thanks for having me on your show. I'm good, sir. I hope all's well with you as well.
Let's go back in time and we'll start from there. We'll come to where you are today. How much of Karimnagar do you remember, if at all?
I do remember. So all my cricketing, gully cricket started in Karimnagar. I was there till I was 8. I understood a lot of Telugu, spoke Telugu as well. I don't speak Telugu as much now, but I have huge childhood memories about how I started playing cricket. I had a very nice bunch of boys and girls that I used to play cricket alongside. One thing that I'll always remember about Karimnagar is you were never distinguished, you were never differentiated about being a girl or a boy. So we would just be all together. Evening, 4 o'clock, get together, play a lot of sports, not just cricket. We have played a lot of other games as well. So the time from 4 to 7 would just pass by as if it was just 5 minutes.
The frequent relocations brought about by your father's job transfer, did it help you or did it unsettle you?
I think I would say it helped me a lot in understanding people. I had to get acquainted to a different set of people altogether. Father is a retired teacher now. He used to teach in Kendra Vidyalayas. So most of my life I've stayed in Goa, even though I've changed 2 schools in Goa, but mostly it's been we've been in Goa for 25 years now. So it's been a lot of life lessons, I would say, trying to relocate and then get to know people, trying to understand how to settle down. So it's been a learning experience, I would say.
Adaptability is a buzzword these days in cricket. So along those lines, you are helped by the frequent transfers, is it?
I hoped I could have gotten better at adapting when it comes to cricket. But yes, I would say the cricket has taught me a lot in terms of life, by cricket being the teacher in terms of learning how to adapt, PR skills as well, for that matter. So yes, it's both ways. I would say it's mutual.
You and I are far removed from the Priya skills, Shika, I'll assure you on that.
Yes.
How did you get interested in cricket in the first place?
Sir, it's pretty much same to every household in India. Father was an avid cricket fan. He would tell me stories about how he heard the 1983 World Cup win over the transistor. He would say that he would miss classes, or he would follow a lot of test cricket that India played during those times on the transistor. So it was more about father being very interested in cricket. I remember when we were in Karimnagar, going to a native place in April and May was not feasible. It used to be really hot in Uttar Pradesh. So I would spend a lot of time playing with my father because lot of my other friends also weren't there. So he would give me catches. We would count till when I would drop a catch. So we've gone till 1,000 catches at a go. So it's all about that. Father being a huge fan of cricket was the reason why I started playing cricket. And when I had my peers to play alongside, he would never be there in the picture. But otherwise, he was my buddy. He would be playing alongside me. So it was more about him being interested in cricket, cricket being on the telly all the time that we got a television at home. So it was my father all the more.
Goa is generally a laid back place. By this, I don't want to give anybody the impression that I'm going to put them down, I'm putting them down. But how did your propensity to strive not get diluted there?
I would say so. When I started playing cricket, for everyone who's listening to this, I actually started training to become a cricketer pretty late in my life. I started training under a seasoned ball coach when I was 18. And I had a very good peer group along with me. There were these girls from the St. Xavier's College. I was doing my engineering, so I started playing in my second year of engineering, and I had a very good peer group. So it was more about having fun with the friends that I had. A lot of competitions going around. Let me get you out twice in the nets, and all of those things going around. So it was more about that. So I would say the peer group that I had was very competitive. I didn't really get out of that peer group as much. So that's one thing. Also, if I was spending some time, I wanted it to be quality time. I wanted to be the best that I could because I was spending so much time away from engineering, and I was making time for cricket. So it was more about that. Also, I think the other challenge that I felt about being playing cricket in India was cricket is never the first sport in Goa. It's always football. So initially, when I started playing cricket, we would just have like 15 girls who would come in for selections and all 15 getting selected. So it was more about that. So the competition was more towards getting a lot more, many more girls playing cricket. And I had a very good coach when I kind of played for Goa the first time over, Anil sir, and then Nitin sir. So he would literally call me. He knew that I was very studious, so he would tell me to come and practice with the boys then. And it was then that I played the first challenges for India. So I would say that I got very good mentors at the right time in my life, and they kind of pushed me always. They kept a check on what I was doing.
The desire to excel, is it inherent or were you pushed into excelling?
Sir, I would say it was inherent because as a kid growing up, my father, he himself was a teacher. So if I was not doing well in studies, I would kind of sit back and listen to all his stories. We come from a very humble background. My mother also used to teach when we were in Karimnagar. So it was when I would hear those stories, I would actually understand that I'm very blessed in a lot of ways. And that kind of pushed me to get better. My father always says that he would want to see both his daughter do well and not be where he is. So that was one of the reasons why he pushed us. He would tell us that we were allowed to do anything that we wanted of our interest after finishing our studies. So for him, studies always came first. And I'm also a stout believer of the fact that education is something that's going to stay with me till the time I live. I'm going to be an active cricketer for a certain years in my life. So that's one thing that my father always taught me. And because he was a teacher, I always had to study well because then the other teachers would tell him that I wasn't studying. So studies was the priority growing up. But then, like I said, if I was spending a chunk of my time into something, I would want to be the best, which literally has changed a lot. I've had very good conversations to you also about it. So it's not about perfection anymore. It's just about looking out for excellence. And perfection is something that I probably will not be able to achieve. So it's just about excelling.
Education always came first. That's something that we always see happening in South. Cricket had to take a backseat even in your case when you want to complete engineering. Now, how much adverse impact did it have on your cricket?
So from the second year when I started playing cricket, actually studies took the back seat. I would say in the first year I was the topper in the college, but from the second year onwards, I just aimed to write all my papers and all of that. I just played 1 year of under 19 cricket, and I remember leaving 6 papers altogether. So I literally had 10 papers to write the next time over. By that time, cricket bug had actually bitten me, and I had Purnima Rao, who was the then India selector. She called me and she said, "If you're so good, why don't you dedicate more time towards playing cricket?" I would still think that being a professional cricketer, it is rather difficult to be a professional degree holder as well. I have cursed myself a lot on the way about thinking about taking cricket, about choosing cricket and engineering at the same time. So I would say at different stages of my life, it's about cricket taking priority. There was a lot of juggling happening. Engineering taught me time management. So along the way, I would say if I had just taken any other degree, I would be able to spend a lot more time in cricket. But I don't really repent any of it because I'm the person I am. It's because of both the things that I did.
Now, I'm getting to the interesting part. Refusing job offers from top companies was not a norm then, wasn't it? Did you have to hear a few words from your family and friends about it?
Friends a lot. I had the placement officer literally called me and said, please don't sit in any more placement exams, because what I hear is you're not interested in any of them. So just don't sit in them and, get the job offer, and then you're anyways not going to take the job. It was uh, like I said, so by the time I was in my fourth year, I thought that I could play cricket, and I could play cricket at a decent level. By then, I had understood that I had potential, probably because of not many people telling that to me. And my sister, there's a very interesting story here. My sister, she's 2 years older to me. She works for Deloitte. She's a software engineer, and she wanted to become a doctor. But management quota was out of picture for us because obviously we didn't have that kind of money. So she had to take up engineering, and she kind of came to my rescue, and she persuaded my parents and said, I was not able to pursue my dream. Let her do it, because she wants to become a cricketer, and let's see how it goes. And by then she was also earning. So during my first year of Air Force as well, when I joined Air Force, I used to get a stipend, but she never let me spend that stipend. She would send me money. So she was the one who was instrumental in me being able to pursue my dream. If it wasn't for her, I don't think it would be easier for me to persuade my parents. My parents, like I said, we come from a middle class family, and for them, getting a job was the priority at that time.
Refusing a job and hearing a mouthful from every quarter is something that I've gone through as well. In fact, I finished my 12th. I refused a job offer from Reserve Bank of all places those days, mind you. So I can understand what it was all about. Now, at any stage where you sort of gave up the offers for jobs and wanting to get into Air Force, was there a stage you doubted that you may not get into Air Force?
So after I finished my engineering, this is in 2010. I took a year off, like I said. I did really well in that domestic season. I can vouch for it. There was the first NCA camp for women, which I was part of. The first ZCA, I played for South Zone, and then I got into the NCA camp based on the selected 30 from all the zones. And I thought I did decently well in the whole of that season. Played for Goa, but then there was India team touring England, and I didn't make the team. And then I was actually heartbroken. And that I was 20. I was 20, 21, and I thought that this is just that. I mean, I wouldn't be playing cricket anymore. And then I had to oblige my parents, and they said they had heard about services team from the Air Force, and they said, why don't you join Air Force, and probably this is the way ahead, and you might play for India again. So yeah, I did doubt myself. That's the thing with us, all human beings. When things don't go the way we want them to go, we start doubting our abilities and all of that. So at that point, I actually thought that cricket was I wouldn't be playing cricket anymore once I joined Air Force training.
You got into Air Force, landed the job of an ATC. Was it a high pressure job?
It was so the first month of the first year of training was immense. I mean, I'll never forget. We have a motto of we sing together, we swim together. So I mean, there are so many qualities that I've imbibed by the training in Air Force. And I actually took ATC because fighter controllers were posted to rural parts of India. I mean, places where you wouldn't be able to travel and reach. So I actually took ATC thinking I can probably be in good cities and still could continue playing cricket. So that was the reason why I chose
Who
ATC.
doubted your intelligence?
I I also wanted to become a pilot, sir, but certainly that did not come through. And I thought ATC was the closest to being in operations and everything. Not many people know, but I actually had not cleared my medicals, which is such a big thing in Air Force. In all of the services, for that matter, I was permanently rejected because the make of my heart is different. So we literally, my father was like, "You're an athlete. How can that happen?" and all of that. So we kind of fought against the permanent rejection, and that's how I got into ATC. I was literally told that if I don't take this job, I there was no surety that I would get any other job in the armed forces.
ATC, by the way, is air traffic controller. Now, how different is that in the Air Force to that of a commercial job?
So ATC is basically, there are two type of controllers in ATC. One is the aerodrome controller, the tall buildings that we see next to the airports. That they are the aerodrome controllers, where a lot of visual controlling takes place. And there are radar controllers which are underground. The controllers sit in underground cabins, and they do a lot of controlling that happens in between the airports. It's a very difficult job, and the difference in military ATC and the commercial ATC is the kind of aircrafts we control. So in military ATC, you have all the fighter aircraft. My first posting was Air Force Base, which had three fighter aircrafts, and Bisons were among one of them. And I used to go early in the morning and be there because I was kind of an undertraining flying officer. I had to be there all the time, trying to learn everything that I could, hands-on job learnings. So it was very difficult for me. I mean, three fighter squadrons, plus there would be a lot of helicopter squadrons which would come on detachment. So life was very hectic back then, and cricket was nowhere in my thinking at that time when I was posted there.
Cricket was nowhere then, but came 2014. The ultimate happens. You make your debut. Talk us through that.
Uh, I I would just like to mention here that a lot of time you don't realize how things fall in place for you, and you're there at the right time at the right place. So in 2010, when I did the NCA camp, the administrative manager of NCA was Wing Commander Jha. He was a services player, and he was the administrative manager there. And he got to know about me, that I was joining Air Force and all of that. And when I was then in the probables for the 2014 World Cup, he was the one who put in a lot of word. Air Commodore Baladitya, who was the who retired as an Air Vice Marshal, was with the Indian men's team. So he got to know about me. And I should mention this: Air Force Sports Control Board, Services Sports Control Board, literally bend their rules, because even now we do not have officers recruitment in sports. It's the men's recruitment, the airmen. There are two cadre. So all of those people literally vouched for me, and they said she is an India material and we need to give her enough leave to play and all of that. And that's how in 2014 I debuted for India. And to be directly picked for the World Cup was a huge matter of confidence for me myself. And we did play a bilateral series against Bangladesh, but it was predominantly a World Cup that I debuted in. So it was like I said before, that I didn't think that I would play cricket once I got to the Air Force Base that I was talking about, but I was very fortunate with so many people there, and it's because of them that I could don the blue uniform, and I was a proud owner of the blue jersey as well.
Your parents did not squash your cricketing ambitions, did they?
No, to be honest,
They guided you in the right way, Shikha. What are you complaining about?
to be very honest, they were the ones. They were the reason why I could actually continue playing cricket through my engineering. So I have no complaints there. I still remember Papa used to be the one who would make get up in the morning and make the bed tea, and he would be the last one when I would go to sleep at 12 o'clock after finishing my engineering assignments. He would be awake with me. So if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't have played cricket during my engineering days. So yes, the support that I got, and I feel very fortunate because I've heard stories of so many other girls who did not get the support that they should get, and that they are very talented. I have had friends who have literally left cricket because they haven't gotten the kind of support that I got from my family. So that was very blessed.
You made an impactful debut in Test cricket. Enjoyed that high pressure drama and the partnership with Mithali Raj.
I loved it. I absolutely loved it. So as a kid growing up, there used to be a lot of one-day cricket, but I was a huge fan of Test match cricket. During my 10th standard exams, I have gotten early in the mornings to watch the Ashes. I mean, that's something that even when India used to tour Australia, getting up early in the morning, that used to be a routine. I mean, get up in the morning, watch and study as well, side by side a little, just to show my father. But then watching Test match cricket, my friends would get bored about what is this? They're defending. But I literally love Test match cricket. And for me to be able to play a test in the same year that I debuted for India, nothing could be better than that. Yeah, and also because we were a team which had 8 debutants, we literally had a mass cap distribution ceremony. So for us to be having 8 debutants and defeating a team like England in that one-off test in Wormsley was a brilliant feeling.
After such an impactful debut, both in the ODI and Test cricket, one would have expected your career would have soared like one of the Air Force jets, but unfortunately it didn't. Any specific reason?
A lot many people actually do not know that I went to the 2014 tournament that we are talking about, the whole series of 3 ODIs test match and one of T20. Went in as a replacement. And for me to just walk in and play in the 11 itself was a huge achievement, I would say. But then somehow I felt at that time being, to be very honest, I was 24. So people thought that I was very mature and all of that, which was I was off the field. But actually speaking, I had just played 6 years of cricket, and that's one thing that I think didn't work for me. There are so many cricketers who get into cricket when they are 10, 11. There are different issues of them being exhausted by the time they're 18. I do acknowledge that. But for me, I was someone who started playing cricket when I was just 18 and then debuted for India. So I thought there were lot many parts of cricket of my own game that I didn't really understand. Even now, there are so many things about my batting and my bowling that I actually understood when I was 28, 29. And I sometimes feel that if I had started playing cricket earlier, I would have that understanding of my game way earlier, maybe when I was 20, 23, 24. So yeah, things didn't really work out like you said, but like I am someone who believes in putting in 100% efforts. I would want to be the most hardest working player on the team, and I take pride in that.
You felt that people felt you were mature rather. What you did not say was that you also sometimes tend to overthink. So based on how things have gone for you, based on what I know of you, I tend to take the route that intelligence is not always an advantage. Do you agree?
I partly agree. There's this famous interview recently from a very famous cricketer, and he says about every person's cricketing journey being different. And I would kind of want to reiterate my journey has been different, and I know that I'm going to get certain number of matches to play, which was different when you were there because the kind of backing that I had was different. But with all of that, I do have to think about not just one way to go about my cricket. I do have to think about a lot of other ways. I have to have a lot of plans in place. And it's all about having a good mentor there. I mean, I am a huge and a stout believer of the fact that sometimes you need someone there to be helping you out in situations and to narrow down your thinking. Sometimes the word that you think, overthinking, kind of makes you spend your energy in different things and in unwanted things. But for me, I wouldn't want to change that about myself because I have been able to channelize my energies better now, and probably it was not the same in the times that you mentioned, 2014 or 2015. So yes, intelligence is always not an advantage. I would agree.
Now, without being arrogant, which you are not, I know for a fact, and you always look to help people. Now, would you consider that your intelligence and your academic record and the fact that you are in the Air Force and you could talk on varied subjects, people felt rather intimidated because of you?
I've been told just because I'm an introvert, I don't talk as much. But then once I start talking to my friends, they actually know. So people say that looking at me, they would think that I'm very cocky. I've got a lot of attitude. But I mean, my state mates, for example, can vouch for it. They know how I'm an introvert and take time to open up. But I'm someone who is all for the team. Always have had squad mentality, and I've always wanted to be the best team player that's there in the team. And for me, that matters. If people think that I've got airs around me and all of that, cannot really help it. But yes, I have found difficulty in finding people at the same frequency. I've had very good conversations with you, and I've looked forward to having conversations with you when you were the coach. But then, yes, it's sometimes it becomes difficult to find people who are at the same frequency.
Folks, I am saying this. If Shikha Pandey and Ashwin were involved in a conversation about Indian cricket, they'll need at least 5 lifetimes. I assure you on that. Now let's get back to the chat. Let's get back to the chat we are having. You got back your swing in 2019, which was a very vital component in your cricket, isn't it?
Yes, in 2018, I was dropped from the T20 World Cup. People don't know, actually, I've made so many comebacks, and then I, for me as a person, I've realized that I'm not someone who is result oriented. It doesn't work for me. I mean, there are a lot many people who just say, "Fine, today I'm going to take 5 wickets," and they just go there and take those 5 wickets. Uh, Unfortunately for me, that doesn't work. I'm not a player who can do that. So I basically look for process in whatever I'm doing. I'm a very process oriented cricketer. And I also realized that as a bowler, you would have bowled the very best spell of your life, and you would have ended with no wickets. I have had spells like that, and there are spells where you have bowled absolute rubbish, full tosses, and you've gotten wickets off full tosses. When you were there with us, we had toured West Indies. In one of the one days, the second one day, for example, I bowled a 5 wicket, a 5 over spell, the opening spell, and probably the best spell that I've ever bowled. I was able to move the ball under light both ways. I just got 1 wicket, but I know that I bowled the best then. And you always told me that cricket and all your performances are very subjective. They cannot be objective. So you need to see the process. How did the bowler bowl? How many false shots were induced, for example, and how many times did you just miss the outside edge or the inside edge of the bat? All those conversations just made me believe that I'm a really good bowler. Sometimes when you're not getting picked or you're sitting out, you're not a member of the playing 11, you start doubting your abilities a lot, which happens and which is very normal. But I knew that even if I've not had a good spell, a good over, or a good match, you were there and you would obviously back me because you know that I'm a good bowler. So for me to have you as a coach and everyone around at that time who were there to back me, I could just go out there and express myself with all the freedom that I had, which is not the case always.
In that phase, 2019 until the World Cup, T20 World Cup in 2020, you were on top of your game. That must have been perhaps the best phase in your career.
Yes, I would say so. Also, because what I mentioned before, I was mature by then. I was understanding what kind of a cricketer I am. I had a uh, uh, very good process and a very good routine that I had followed. I think as a cricketer, it's very important for you to have a routine that you follow for all the matches. So I was following a routine and it was working out for me. And for me, that one thing was clarity about my role in the team, about what I wanted to do at a particular ball. I had so much clarity and my thought process was just amazing. I always write diaries. And whenever, even now, when I'm bowling and things are not going my way, I actually go back and I read what I was writing in my diaries during that time because it gives me so much clarity and also assurance about I was that good and I can get back to that being that good again. So a lot of those things really helped me. And like I said, conversations, clarity, and being back were the reason why I did well that season.
Then came the spread of COVID and the subsequent shutdown. That would be detrimental in your case, wasn't it?
It was because I was not getting any younger. I thought I was bowling so well, and we were slated to have the ODI World Cup the very next year, 21 in New Zealand. I was looking forward to it, but for as bowling is a discipline, I would say that you need time to get back into your rhythm and to get back into your routines. And during COVID times, we never had the amount of practice that I would want. I am someone who kind of wants to practice. Sometimes you would literally shout at me about practicing way too much. I remember before the New Zealand game, this is the 2020 World Cup. Before the New Zealand game, I wanted to bowl, and you said you're not bowling because I guess one of the sites were very Tracy ma'am had told you for me not to bowl, and I couldn't believe it that I have a match tomorrow, and it's been a ritual for me to bowl and bowl before a match, and you asked me not to bowl. And the next day against New Zealand, I probably bowled one of the best spells in my whole T20 tournament. That that time. And then I realized sometimes it's okay to listen to your body as a medium pacer. And that's another thing that I've realized. There have been days now when I play, even for my state side, that I don't bowl. And I just think about the feeling that I'm going to be feeling that I hold on to about bowling a good spell. So a lot of talks that I've had with you about workload management, because for me, I think it's not about the volume of bowling, but it's about keeping my fitness there as I'm getting older.
The best chances for you was England and Australia subsequently in 2021, where things were up and down when they.
It was because as an in-swinger, I was trying to bowl out swingers. I mean, I remember in England, you texted me and you were asking me, why are you trying to bowl out swingers? Just bowl your in-swingers. Also, England, the grounds that we played, I literally took time, like I said, I took time during the test match. Also, the test match wicket, I mean, I'm not complaining, but it was a used wicket. There was the first over that Juludi bowled and the wicketkeeper collected the ball near her ankles. I'm like, gone. This is not going to be helpful. So by the time the T20s actually arrived, I'm the highest wicket taker for India in the T20s, and I had gotten back into my rhythm. But then the way things are, it's professional cricket. I understand it's cutthroat competition. And even though I was bowling so well in the nets, I didn't really get a look in the Australia during the test match and the ODIs.
But the remarkable delivery that he bowled in Australia was an outswinger, an in-swinger rather, not an outswinger. Was it Alisa Healy, the victim?
Yes. People just talk about that one delivery, but you also, I spoke to you about it. The whole spell that I bowled, the first 3 overs that I bowled, again, were probably the best that I had bowled in a while. And like I said, I was bowling the same in the nets. So I understand cricket is a brutal sport. It's a huge leveler. It can be the best sport that you play, and the very next day you're the worst. So I we were supposed to play the ping ball test at the Waka, and I'm really happy that it didn't happen at the Waka, because then I wouldn't have stopped crying. And just I just wanted to go there and express myself. I thought I had nothing to lose in the T20 ICDs that I play. And Australia being Australia, I had so much bounce, and even the slower balls were carrying so really well. So it was just about expressing myself and not really thinking about the future or the past.
The WPL finally happened. What did it mean to you personally and in the overall scheme of things?
I would say WPL has, firstly, it was long due for us, for the women cricketers from India to be playing WPL, not just the international, domestic. The time that I was not there in the India setup, I literally played domestic cricket, and because most of the time I would be out touring with the international, with the India side, I wouldn't really get to spend a lot of time with my state teammates. And I see how much they toil throughout the year just for those 8 to 10 games of domestic cricket. So I was really happy and gutted for them when I got to know that it is happening. And like I said, not all of the India players get a chance to go out and play in the leagues. So for to be there in the same team as Meg Lanning or Jess Jonathan, and to be learning from them is immense. And I think it's just not about the skill set, it's also about the mindset, about what they do when they are in crunch situations. For me, it was largely about that. I had really good conversations with Meg, with JJ as well, about how they go about uh, trying to balance pressure off the field, on the field. And I've had really very good, well-rounded personalities, even Kapi for that matter. The kind of bond I had with her as an opening bowling partner was amazing. It At times we were taking wickets and not celebrating and telling the other person what's happening on the wicket and what's helping me take those wickets. So the camaraderie that I had with her was amazing, and for me to be learning all of that in during the WPL was a huge takeaway. And not just me, I mean, someone like Minnu Mani, who's going to debut, uh, was be able to play alongside international cricketers. I'm so chuffed for all of them.
Squadron leader Shikha Pandey. Where is she planning to go in the Air Force?
Squadron leader Shikha Pandey is retired, sir. I actually retired from the Air Force last year. This was in
Okay.
June. I actually thought that balancing both was getting difficult. I was a short service commissioned officer, so it was 10 plus 4 years, but I left service after 10 years. And I thought if I had some cricket left in me, why not give it 100%? So it was a very difficult situation because, like I said, I have two kind of faces to me, and one was an Air Force officer, and one was an India cricketer. And at that time, last year in June, I had none. So it was a difficult decision, a leap of faith, I would say. But then I've been able to take a lot of other opportunities. I went down under to play club cricket because I thought after getting dropped, I had started falling out of love with the sport. I started doubting my abilities, and I thought getting out of the system, going somewhere else and playing cricket just for the fun of it was really necessary for me. And I just took that step ahead and went there and played cricket. And I can for sure say that right now I'm enjoying my cricket, and that's why I probably am getting the results that I want.
Come on, HR guys, the intelligence has only gotten better. You can again contact her if you want her in your roles. Come on, go for it. Okay, now Shikha Pandey, the cricketer, is she a tad disappointed? Is she angry or couldn't care less about the treatment meted out to her?
If I say that I'm not frustrated and angry, then I'm not a human being. Um, there've been these endless lazy Sunday afternoons that I've gone to the indoors when it's raining here in Goa, spending 2 hours bowling, just alone being there bowling. So it's difficult when you don't get the results for the work that you've put in. I'm sure there's some reason behind it, which I do not know really. But thinking about all of that, I think what's in my hand is the hard work. And I'm a stout believer in hard work. So it's just about working hard till the time I think I'm mentally and physically fit. I'll try to play cricket till then. Um, and like I said, I've had really good mentors with me who have kind of pushed me because last year when I was dropped, I actually thought walking away from cricket was the right thing to do. And then I was suggested that it was a very emotional period and I needed to give myself a little time. And kudos to them for you also being one of them. I actually had a conversation with you as well, and you said you still thought that I had a lot of cricket left in me and I should play till the time I enjoy the sport. So I am enjoying the sport, and I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed right now as well. But like I said, the situations that I'm put in is out of my control. But the decisions that I take to get out of it is completely in my hands. So I'm going to do that.
I'm sure you'll have another crack at making a comeback.
Yes, that's the plan, sir.
You must, in fact, if you ask me. It's never too late. Now, a cricketer goes through all this. You had to juggle with your Air Force career, you had to juggle through all the challenges in cricket, and you also had to handle the societal pressures that come along with being a cricketer as well as an Air Force officer. Now, it's very critical to have a mental health expert helping you, isn't it?
Yes, I did work. I have worked with a lot of mental conditioning coaches. I should say that the most recent one being Mugda ma'am. She is working with BCCI, and I recently, as recent as the 10-day stint that I had at NCA, I actually spoke to her, and it was only over the phone till then, and this was the first time that I saw her in person. And I initially said I had nothing to speak to her because I thought my cricket was going well. I had a decent World Cup, I would say, and then the WPL also was decent in my opinion. So I said I have nothing to say, but then I actually ended up talking to her for 45 odd minutes, and the conversations were mostly about things that have helped me come back into cricket and how I should just continue doing all of that. All of these selections and everything, like I said, it's not in my hand, and when I don't know the reason for not being selected is another thing. So it's just about keeping faith, I would say, and being hopelessly hopeful. So it's just about that, and I still think there's some cricket left in me, and I would want to give back to the state that I play for. I've got some really good friends here. I play for GCA, and I would want to get back to the domestic circuit and help us win some of these.
Go for it. Go for it. 4 years ago, you were this close to getting an Arjuna award, but eventually it did not happen. Disappointed, disgusted, gutted. What is it?
So I was told that my name was being forwarded for Arjuna in August 2020, and the next series that we play in Lucknow, I'm not there in the team. And you were the first one to call me and tell me that I was not there in the team. And I mean, cricket can be a funny game, not just on field, off field as well. So I was disappointed because it's always good to get recognized for your efforts, and that too when you are playing for your country. So I take a lot of pride in playing for my country for so many years without just on my performances, and just being able to go out there and perform for my team in difficult situations is what I look forward to. So I'm really proud and happy that I've played so much cricket uh, on my abilities. So I'm really proud of that.
Any future plans laid out, or is it too early? Or would you announce it at the right time, whatever it is that you're planning to do?
So the last year when I was not playing cricket, I mean I was dropped, and I just to take my mind off cricket when I retired from Air Force as well. Belinda, she's someone that I've been speaking to. So she suggested that I take my mind off, do some online courses. I started studying again, and I love maths. So my love for maths is back, and whenever I find time, even now, it's been a very hectic last season from going to Australia in August. I literally did not take a week's break. So I took a break this time over in April, and I'm back to studying. So it's something that I'm looking forward to probably study for a degree or something. But still, I have so many paths that I can follow. I'm still thinking about which one to.
Oh, that's easy for you. Studying is easy for you. Tell us about something exciting that you're planning to do, or something challenging even.
No, I mean I don't have
Not yet.
anything. To be very honest, getting back into the India team will be very challenging. So that's on the cards. But yes, like I said, just being hopeful about playing cricket because the sport is physical. I think that's the most difficult thing to do. Studying is rather easier, I would say.
Thank you, Shikha. I'm sure you will definitely end up making a comeback, and I hope to see you do well again in blue and in whites as well these days because you're getting to play Test cricket as well. And thanks for taking your time and responding to my request. And I wish you all the very best in the future.
Thanks a lot, sir. Thank you.
That was Shikha Pandey, always studious, always intelligent, and always measured in what she says. And I'm sure you would have enjoyed the chat very much. For those who are joining us for the first time, subscribe to the channel, press the like button, and also pass on the word to all your friends who are keen on cricket about this particular channel. And you can also log on to the Sports Star handle to watch all the earlier episodes where some fantastic stuff is being put up on this handle. And for those who've been with us right from the start, continue to do so and keep your comments coming because that's very, very important for us. And we value your feedback and comments so that we can always look at dishing out better stuff for you people and also in a much better fashion than we are doing at the moment. As I always say, until I catch up with you next time, be good and stay safe.